This is Crack IELTS with Rob, the channel that helps you pass your IELTS exams easily. My name is Matt from the channel IELTS with Matt, and we're here to help improve your speaking and make it natural, confident and professional sounding to make you pass your speaking element the most easily. So today we're going to look at some recent speaking questions, and they're the hard part because they are part 3 questions. And they're recent, they're from this month, which means they're most likely to be repeated again for the next few months, probably until August. So you can use some strategies from today's lesson and use my example answers to help you improve your answers and also apply them to other part 3 speaking questions. Let's get going. What are the speaking questions this week? They are all about technology. Technology, it does tend to come up quite a lot. Let's have a look. We have, what technology do people currently use? How does technology affect our lives? Does technology affect the way we study? Why do technology companies often update or upgrade their products? Why do big companies frequently introduce new products? We're going to look at around about 3 of these today. So we're going to look at these 3 questions and my band 9 answers or thereabouts. Here's my answer. I suppose people use all sorts of gadgets and software these days. The thing that springs to mind most easily is people's mobile phones. I guess traditionally you might think of using a laptop or desktop computer for work, but then again technology nowadays extends to almost all aspects of life. You know, like controlling your lights through your speaker or accessing the internet through the TV. Does technology affect the way we study? If you ask me, I'd say invariably yes. The vast majority of students these days use at least some kind of technology, whether it's a phone, a website, or even artificial intelligence to craft example answers. These are all ways that enhance study. On the other hand, I guess you could argue that tech is also a distraction. What I mean by that is you could have good intentions of studying, but when a ping or a buzz of a message comes through, that deep focus is gone. And sometimes you can lose your train of thought and studying goes out the window. Or at least it does for me. Lastly, why do big companies frequently introduce new products? Well, I suppose new products probably seem fresher and more exciting, so they're more likely to attract the attention of new potential consumers. Also, loyal followers of the brand are possibly more likely to buy or upgrade as they know and trust the company's previous products already. Ultimately, though, the real reason is that companies, big or small, need to generate revenue from sources as well as from new sources as well as existing sources to grow their top line and to show their shareholders that they are profitable. So those are my example answers. Let's look at why they might be good and what you could learn from this and what you could maybe apply to other questions. So all these in yellow are about structure, which helps your fluency. It's part of the 4 strands of how examiners will assess you. So these are ways you can improve your fluency. We have discourse markers here, like I suppose. A nice way to start speaking is the thing that springs to mind. Springs, bing, goes into your head easily. The first thing I think of, or the thing that springs to mind most easily is I really like this linkings phrase, which is but then again. It's kind of like however, but then again. It kind of sounds nice and it sounds more natural to me, at least. This is a nice phrase, if you ask me. It's just a way to start speaking. You could use it for almost any question. Yeah, if you ask me, I think companies use them. Or what's your favorite? Oh, if you ask me. The vast majority of means most. So it's just another way to say most. The vast majority of, it sounds like a nice phrase. On the other hand, it's a connecting phrase. So you've said the positives or the negatives of one thing, and then you're looking at the other side. On the other hand, Remember, you can't say on my other hand, or on other hand, or on the other hand. It's a fixed phrase, on the other hand. I have heard it said wrong too many times by my students. You could argue that tech is also a distraction. So I've used it as a way to introduce another argument. This is also good for your writing, but I like to use it in speaking too. You could argue that blah 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 is blah blah blah. And I like that it could because it's called hedging language. It's not saying it very strongly, but it's something that you can't deny. And this is a lovely phrase, and I think many students, bands 5, 6, 7 and above could probably use it more. And it's a lovely way to increase your fluency because it just means you can say the same thing again, but in different ways. For example, tech is also a distraction. What I mean by that is you might hear a ping or a buzz. Or cooking is very hard. What I mean by that is sometimes I have the ingredients, but I just can't make it taste good afterwards. Or seeing friends always makes me happy. What I mean by that is I'm left with a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. You could use it for almost any kind of question. We've got well, I suppose. It's another way to start speaking. And ultimately, though, it's a lovely way to say in conclusion. Well, it's a more natural way to say in conclusion. And as well as, it's a linking phrase which just basically means and. Okay, that was structure and fluency. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, sorry, before that, let's look at comments. Last week, Jyoti said, excellent idea. It's very useful for me to boost my score. Great. Well, I really hope you can boost your score, and that's exactly what this channel is meant to do, to boost your score in very easy, practical ways. Let's look at vocabulary. We've got some simple words like gadgets, which is anything you use. It could be a phone, it could be a TV remote, it could be a new piece of technology that you physically hold or look at. And software, which is the stuff inside the computer that tells it how to work, like Microsoft Windows or the operating system or a program that you use to do something. A desktop computer, that's usually what you see in offices. They're big and they stand on desks. And here we have a nice simple words, but they go together. These are called collocations. So the collocations are better than very, very fancy vocabulary, in my opinion, because they're just words that native speakers generally use, and they go together strongly. So not just looking at the internet, we say accessing the internet. Invariably means without changing. So I'd say invariably, yes. Or I'd say invariably, no. It means, well, you couldn't change my opinion. The vast majority means most of, we looked at, and it's a nice collocation again. We don't say vast majority, we don't say major majority, we say the vast majority of. It's a kind of fixed phrase and a nice collocation. We can have intentions, which is something you want or you're going to do, and that collocates nicely with the word good. I have good intentions of studying, or I have good intentions of going to see my family. Oh, but then maybe something else happens to stop you doing it. Deep focus, so you have focus when you're concentrating, but to make it stronger, you have deep focus. You're really, really focusing on something. And this is another collocation. Lose your train of thought. Your train of thought is how you are thinking or what you are thinking of. So this is my train of thought. It's some logical ideas, but something can break your train of thought. Maybe, somebody knocks at the door. I've lost my train of thought. Or bzz, my phone is going. No, I've I've lost my train of thought. I've lost what I was thinking about. And it means the same as goes out the window, which means something is finished. For example, I was going to the gym every day, but then my family came to visit, so my new routine has gone out the window. Or I was being really good and not eating any chocolate at all, but one night I was feeling very tired and ate some. Now all of that is out the window. It went out the window. We have consumers, people who buy things, potential consumers, or people who might buy things. Followers, like on Instagram or on YouTube. We have loyal followers, people who always follow that person. Like they really, really like the brand or the person, so they will always follow it, or they always consume it. A brand is a name of something, like Adidas or Nike. We've got the real reason. So maybe there are lots of reasons that you say, but the real reason is that. So you might say the strongest reason. We have revenue, which is the sales that are generated. You sell a product, you can get revenue. But the business term is to generate revenue. It means to make money, make sales. You generate revenue. Note that revenue is not the same as getting money for you as a person. Like, I cannot say my mum generated revenue to me. It's more a business term. And grow their top line is a collocation, which means at the top of a profit and loss statement, or at the top of a profit and loss statement you have the sales. So if you increase sales, you are growing your top line, the total number of things, or the total dollars of stuff you have sold. Shareholders, they're the people that own the business. So I own shares in many different businesses, so I am a shareholder of these businesses, and it means that I share in the profit. And if companies make money, they are profitable. It's an adjective, profitable. So like Apple is a very profitable company. Many other tech companies are not profitable. They generate lots of revenue, top line growth, but they don't have much profit. They spend all their money on salaries and research and development. Next, our focus is grammar. So these ones in green are good grammar things. We've got the thing that, because we've got a relative pronoun. So the thing that springs to mind. If you ask me, anything with an if, it means that you have a subordinate clause. Can you see we have a comma? If you ask me, I'd say that, invariably yes. It's a complex sentence. Whether shows that we have a complex sentence here, whether it's a or a and then we have the second clause here. You could argue that we have that, so it's a relative pronoun, which shows that it's a complex sentiment. It's a complex sentence, and our nice way to increase fluency, but also your complexity of grammar. So what I mean by that is, we have that shows it's a relative pronoun and a complex sentence, and it's also a way to say the same sentence, the same thing again in a different way. Here we have as in the middle of the sentence, which means the same as because. If you use as or because in a sentence, that is a complex sentence because it has a dependent clause. Sounds very fancy, but it just means because, and it's quite easy to use. For example, I read every day as I enjoy it, or I try to eat healthily as I know it's good for my body. And the real reason is that. You can use it as a fixed phrase, and it's nice because it's complex grammar. And the more complex grammar that you can use correctly, the higher your grammar band score gets generally. And lastly, let's look at some pronunciation. We have the sound, the schwa, which is the It's the most important sound in English. And we have a linking sound where we push two words together, like you opened. Can you hear? There's a little w there. You opened. So we push those two words together. Sometimes it creates a linking sound, which makes it difficult for non-native speakers to hear. It's why sometimes your listening test can be a little bit difficult to understand. Let's practice. Here are some pronunciation features using that. We have all sorts of. Now this of becomes an of. Say it with me, of. All sorts of, and we also have a linking sound, sov, all sorts of. This is a higher level pronunciation feature that you might find in bands 6, 7, 8 and 9. That, when we speak slowly, becomes that, but when we say it quickly, it becomes a sound. The thing that springs to mind, not to mind, if we speak quickly, it becomes an the thing that springs to mind. The thing that springs to mind, you try saying it. Next we have think of using. Now we have some linking sounds. Think of. Say that again. Cov. Think of using. And now we have a y sound in between there. Of using. Think of using. You might think of using a laptop. Think of using. Next, but then again. We have the schwa sound. Then again. To almost. We have a linking sound there. Extends to almost. How do you know whether to put a linking sound in? Basically you don't. Just make yourself first of all conscious that these linking sounds exist, and just try to say words quickly together, and you will just automatically make a linking sound. So, to almost. If you're enjoying this video, I'd like to ask you for a huge favor and to share this on a Facebook group or on a WhatsApp message or WeChat to somebody else or a group of people that might find this useful too. You know, you might have heard this on TV. You know, the schwa sound, you know, like controlling your lights. And the internet, we have a linking sound, the internet. Whoops. If you ask me, wask. If you ask. And majority of, can you hear that? We've got a linking sound. Majority of, the majority of students, that of becomes a sound. The majority of students. And a kind of, this of becomes a kind of, say it with me, of, kind of technology, some kind of technology. Next, when we speak slowly, it's are. These are all ways. You try it. And on the other, we have a linking sound again. The other. On the other hand, I guess you could argue. And lastly, we have train of. That of becomes a sound again. Lose your train of. Train of. Train of. Lose your train of thought. Lose your train of thought. What did you think of that part? Was it difficult? Could you hear the and the linking sounds? I'm interested to know. Let me know in the comments. Okay, now it's time to train your active speaking. So you can choose any structure from this lesson and try to make your speaking active. What that means is so you can use it easily in an exam. And the only way you can use something easily is by practicing it. There is no easy way. For example, let's try what I mean by that is. What I mean by that is to say the same thing again to improve your fluency, and it will also improve your grammar, and you can also show higher level pronunciation features with it if you can use it well. Let's look at some examples, or in fact, you should write your own examples. These are just my examples that I wrote down. For example, passing exams isn't so difficult. What I mean by that is, studying is easy when you know how to do it. By recycling, you're helping the environment. What I mean by that is, you shouldn't just throw away your plastic. Lastly, liking or subscribing to a channel is simple and really helps. What I mean by that is that it's really easy to show your support in simple ways. And you can lastly find some speaking questions where you could try to use this structure, and you could find that on my blog ieltswithmatt.substack.com, or you could use a speaking app like IELTS Speaking Assistant. Now you've learned some structures that can help improve your speaking score, and to learn more of those structures that are really going to push you up higher, you're going to need to watch this next video up here.